In this video, we're going to show you how to prepare to install an additional domain controller, also known as an ADC. So what we have is domain services for Windows is already installed, it's already configured, it's working, and we want to add another domain controller. There is a TID on this. It's TID 7009927. It gives you some tips on what to do to prepare for an install of an ADC domain controller, so additional domain controller. Now, if we look real quick, let's get a quick review of what our tree looks like. We'll go to iManager and click on view it. So we have our O equals Novell. We have an A that's in the partition that's not partitioned. B and C are part of the partition. Part of the domain. They are partitioned and part of the domain, while D and E are not in the domain. They are partitioned but not in the domain. So that is our layout of our domain, and we're going to install our domain controller, and we should end up with a server object inside the OES systems objects container. That will be the NCP server object, and we will also get a domain controller object within the domain controllers container. So as you can see, our first domain controller is DSfW1. So let's go and quickly look. This is our server. It's OS2 or DSfW SP3. This is going to be an OS2 SP3 install, by the way, even though OS 11 is out. So here's our servers: the E directory, the DSfW, and the DSfW we're going to install. So let's just quickly go through this TID. A lot of it is similar to installing or preparing to install a first domain controller. You want to make sure you're using the proper versions. I would personally stick with a SLES 10 SP3 install with OES 3, and then you can update it after you've got the RPMs installed, before the provisioning or after the provisioning, depending. If you run into some errors during the provisioning, you might need to patch the server, have it at SP4, and have all the OES patches installed. I have successfully installed it with a patched SLES 10 SP4 server. But again, this is up to you. I would, since OES2 SP3 originally shipped with SLES 10 SP3, I would stick with that if you're going to do a SLES an OES2 SP3. If you're doing OES 11, then no worries, just go with the SLES 11 SP1. So some keys here to look at. First, E directory cannot be installed on the server prior to the installing of DSfW. Just like before on the first one, additional domain controllers are the same thing. It is very important that E directory get configured at the same time as DSfW. If E directory gets removed on that server, so does the domain, and the domain controller is basically invalid, and you're going to have to reinstall. So it's very important to have that. The additional domain controller will provide us redundancy, so in case one of the servers becomes corrupt and E directory has to be removed, something along those lines, that we can move the FSMO, all those roles over to the additional domain controller. So that's why one of the reasons why you want to have an additional domain controller for redundancy. It's always important to have redundancy. Things happen. Sometimes servers go down for no reason at all. Something breaks. You always want to have a backup plan. So it's important to have this ADC installed. So the first part is that making sure E directory is not installed. This is the next big piece, the etc host file. Again, make sure this is correct, that you have your loopback address in there and your IP address, the full DNS name for the server, including the domain. So in this example here, it's dsfwdomain.com, and the short name of the server, which is server 1. So you want it to look like that. And in our case here, we'll just look at our server. We'll just cat the etc hosts file, and you can see there it is, 127, and our IP address, our DNS name, and the short name. So that first part, first thing to check on the server is that. Next, etcresolve.conf. Again, very important. This name server here needs to be a server that has or is hosting the zone, the DNS zone for your domain. So in this case, our DSfW server right here is still running DNS and still hosting the zone or domain name for the zone for our domain name here. So if we want to make sure that that is set up correctly, so if we just cat the etcresolve.conf, and we can see here that our search, it can be local domain or it can actually list your domain. You can have or both. That's fine. But specifically, the name server is for the server that is hosting the zone is of our domain is listed first. So very key. We need to have that set up properly. Next piece, just make sure time is in sync with your servers. Time is very important, so you want to make sure NTP is configured. The perform an eDirectory health check is applied to TID 335640775. So if you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically checking that time is in sync, replica synchronization is good. This can be done, I prefer to do it on the master of the partition where your domain is located, and any child partitions also. Hopefully it's the master of both. That could be your DSfW server, or it could be just a normal eDirectory server. So some of the things, if we go to just our eDirectory server, just do NDS repair -E to check for synchronization. Just want to make sure there's no errors, everything is in sync. The TID goes to -T or -N for your networks. Let's just run a repair. We'll select one and run a repair on all of them. Just make sure that we have good communication, that the network addresses are correct. There's also just running a local repair, the NDS repair -R just to run a local repair. Make sure that the directory is healthy, is all repaired. And then of course the NDS trace commands. So you like to do, so like in this case, schema sync, schema detail. We'll go ahead and just do a NDS trace, there we go, star SSD or star SSA, missed the equal sign, equal star SS, missed the set. Here we go. Set NDS trace equals star SSA, SSD, and just plain SS. So we have schema all synced up. That's one. Skulk is another option in here, and the TID goes over that. So it's very simple. Gives you all the commands to do to check that out, to make sure that that is functioning properly. So let's go ahead and exit. So again, here's the TID and how to run those traces and make sure eDirectory is healthy. So let's go back to our preparing to install the ADC TID here. Once we have that, we want to again make sure when we go to do the install that we select the DSfW pattern and don't uncheck anything. If you know that you do not want iPrint, it is safe to uncheck that. Another option there will be DNS. You can, if you like, install DNS on your ADC. It's up to you. If you're unsure, if you only have one DNS server, then I would install DNS just by default, and it'll give you that option if you'd like to do that. You will only get this option one time to install this on an ADC. If you do not do it, you cannot go back and reinstall it. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Go ahead and install it. But again, if you know what you're doing with DNS, you have it configured the way you want it. You don't need this server to be a DNS server for this zone. Then don't install DNS. But otherwise, I would just select everything and just leave it. So when we're done, we want to verify that the unique. Also, sorry, not when we're done, but one last thing is before we install, we want to verify the unique domain ID attribute is present on all the objects in the domain. So you can use iMonitor, you can use iManager, or you can use LDAP search. So let's do gives you some examples here on using LDAP search. So basically, it's our LDAP conf. We could export that and then run this command, which will go and return all objects that do not have a unique domain ID. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's we'll go on to, this is a command that you need to do on a DSfW server. So our existing DSfW server, I already have the LDAP conf exported, so we don't need to do that part, but we can just do the LDAP search -y, and we'll do the external bind here, external, make it in the LDAP format, make it quiet, B, do a subtree search -s sub, so root DSC search. So this a root DSC on a DSfW server is starting at the container where your domain is mapped to. So in this case, it's going to start at the O. Where normally in E directory it starts at root. So here we go, -s sub, and we want to go back here and you know what? Okay, we want the unique domain ID equals if nothing is there, check, only return things that do not have unique domain ID populated, and we want to do the DN. If you want, you can also, just to make sure if there is a unique domain ID inadvertently returned, you could do that unique domain ID, so that we could see that. So just you do that search, go ahead and look through that list. You could send the output to a file. You could use pipe T also and send it to a file, temp / unique domain ID.txt. Run that and then go ahead and look through that file. Make sure that all objects that are within the domain partition that they do not show up in this list. So we have like these containers E, and so that are not, this partition is not part of the domain, so it can show up here. It's perfectly fine. If you want to go ahead and do a search specifically for an object, let's say O equals Novell. Let's just do a base search, so we're only searching that. Let's we don't need the, so nothing is returned. That means it's not there. Let's go ahead and remove this to see if it is there, and there it is. So definitely that our search was working. Doesn't return it, or if it does not have it, then return it. And it did not return it. If it does, we're looking for that unique domain ID. It does return. Other objects, and they're also listed in here, are like the KRB TGT object. You can check that, make sure that that's there, and also the domain controller object. So all these commands are in the TID. Go ahead and follow them. If that unique domain ID is there, you should be safe to proceed and do your install, and that's where we'll go to next. Thanks for watching.